And this is Rich, Patrick's dad.
Yeah, and we figured that instead of actually having to create a video like I had been planning on doing, what I'm going to do instead is prove to the world once and for all, until next year, that Gremlins, and to a lesser extent Die Hard, I'm going to talk about those too.
I understand that.
Are in fact Christmas films.
And I think this is a good way for us to do this because I am lazy and I don't like typing my responses that much. So I will talk to him in real time and explain to him why those are not Christmas films.
He can try, but we all know that I am in fact correct.
You think you are.
Well, it is something with age. You might have gone a little senile and lost it a little bit. But you got to listen to me on this one.
I may have lost it a little bit, but I have not lost it in this regard. Those things are completely unrelated.
Okay. Well, to go ahead to start, I am going to allow you to first explain to everybody out there and try to explain to me why Gremlins is not a Christmas film.
Okay. Well, here's my reasoning for that. First of all, you have to determine what you mean by a Christmas film. What is the prerequisite for something to be a Christmas film? Is it simply something that has Christmas in the background? Or is it something that has a Christmas theme? Or is it something that inspires a form of Christmas nostalgia? For example, Christmas Story is one of my favorite Christmas movies. However, it does not really have a Christmas theme. It does, however, inspire Christmas nostalgia. Gremlins does not inspire Christmas nostalgia, other than the fact that if you were a little kid, you saw it at Christmas time, there's that. But that was not something that was built into the film. So that is something that I would consider to be simply a film with a Christmas background. And that's my reasoning.
Well, here's a couple things. So I did some research on this because if I'm going to do an argument, I'm going to have my research. So there's a couple different ways that a film can be defined in a genre. Which I'm going from, this is from Janet Stager. She's a film historian. There are 4 different ways. The first one is
You did research.
I did research.
You said we're going to do this. I'm doing this cold. You are doing it with research. I'm doing air quotes, by the way, at the moment. Research.
Yes, so I did research. So there's the idealist method, which is judges a film by predetermined standards. The empirical method, which identifies a genre of film by comparing it to a list of films already deemed to fall within a certain genre. The a priori method, which uses common generic elements which are identified in advance. And the social conventions method, which is going to be the biggest talking point for tonight, because my method of research is really just going to Wikipedia and looking this stuff up. But, that's how
Wikipedia, the absolute epitome of knowledge.
It's how I got through college and high school to a degree. So let's talk about the biggest points of it. Okay, so we're watching it as we're doing this podcast right now. In fact, Gremlins has started. We're about 10 minutes into it. We're getting introduced to our main character here. And what is being played in the background? What music is this?
I don't know. I can't hear it.
Oh yeah, I could have turned it down here. But it's Christmas music, and it's setting up a Christmas atmosphere for it. When you look at lists of Christmas films, what are the top Christmas films that you normally see on those lists?
The top Christmas films for me would be something like It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay. Wait. It's a Wonderful Life you consider a Christmas film?
Absolutely. It inspires the idea of Christmas. It has a theme that is of the same kind of theme that you would expect there in Christmas.
I agree with you that it is. However, I mean, looking at that, is the story about Christmas?
It doesn't have to be about Christmas. It has to be something that has the same common themes that you would expect, that essentially, and this is kind of ironic that I say this, that you would hear in a Christmas sermon at a church. Okay? And that the theme of It's a Wonderful Life is one of those themes that you would see in a sermon of some sort.
Okay.
The idea that your life is good, your life is important no matter how much you think it isn't. That is something that is part and parcel of the Christmas ideal. And plus the fact that the beginning and end, the bookends of the story are Christmas oriented.
Right.
that's a double dip on that regard. So yeah, I do consider it a Christmas.
Okay. Continue with your list of other Christmas films. I'll come back to all this stuff in a minute.
Like I said, I mentioned it previously, A Christmas Story, which is simply a story of a young boy who looks insanely like I did when I was a kid.
True.
Who just wanted to be begun for Christmas. Now, granted, there's no theme that is similar to Christmas, but it does create the nostalgia for that time. Now, you wouldn't get this because the nostalgia it creates is far before your time, but I am right at that cusp where what Ralphie experienced as a kid was almost exactly what I experienced as a kid. You have a little bit different experience because you're from a newer generation, but that's why A Christmas Story has always been a fan favorite. And I would also consider The Grinch Who Stole Christmas because obviously that is a Christmas themed as well as a Christmas setting. So those are some of the ones I would say are definite Christmas stories.
Okay, so those ones specifically. Okay, so what is normally the biggest argument against something like Gremlins or Christmas, or Christmas, or Die Hard for why it is not a Christmas film? I mean, there's one thing specifically that sticks out in my head that I hear every single time people argue this.
Well, to me, the biggest thing is the only thing it has to do with Christmas in either instance is the fact that it has a Christmas setting.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. So everyone always says it can take place at any other point.
Exactly.
What about a Christmas Story?
Christmas Story does not involve the nostalgia of Christmas, and that's what this thing is about. It's not just about nostalgia in general. Christmas Story is about nostalgia for an old-fashioned, white bread Aryan Christmas in America.
Holiday. It's more about a holiday than it is Christmas.
I disagree. You know, the idea of the wanting a present that your parents are telling you that you can't get because it's dangerous or because you're not old enough, plus the idea of the Christmas essay the kid has to write, plus the idea of the Christmas parade he goes to and going to see Santa Claus, and Santa Claus being a horribly frightening monster once you actually get there. Now, granted, it has other things that are not Christmas related. You could put the tongue sticking to the pole in any other winter themed movie or winter setting movie. You could do that. You could do a lot of these other things that are not related to Christmas. But so much of it depends upon Christmas, and so much of it makes you go, to my age, and I'm an old fart, I realize that, I remember that. That's what makes it a Christmas movie.
Then why is it still a Christmas? Why would it be, to my generation, who wouldn't have had these nostalgic events that would have reminded me of a Christmas, why would it be considered a Christmas film to, I mean, other than the fact it's called, A Christmas Story.
Right.
But,
well, because of the fact, one, you saw it with us, and you have a sense of nostalgia based on watching it with your kid, your family, your parents, who had that sense of nostalgia. And two, it's just a friggin' good movie.
It is a good movie.
It is.
I'll give that. Okay, so taking the same concept of substituting one holiday for another, can't we do the same thing for It's a Wonderful Life? Or, well, not really a Grinch, I guess, because, specifically.
So you're agreeing with me, The Grinch is a absolute Christmas movie?
I will go with that.
Okay, cheers.
And the podcast is over, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening. Just kidding. I'm not very funny. Anyway, so hypothetically, we change It's a Wonderful Life to Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Same situation can follow through, and we can still get the same movie, essentially, correct?
Well, you have to have the supernatural element of the angels and God or whoever it was that sent Francis or Clarence down.
There's not angels in Thanksgiving? Are angels not involved in Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving's a pretty secular holiday. It really is a secular holiday. It started by some freaky Talibanish Christians, the Puritans, but it's definitely a secular holiday at this point.
Okay.
But there's that whole idea of the mythological aspect of Christmas, the religious, mythological. There are higher powers involved. Part of Christmas,
okay.
And you need that. I mean, you couldn't have it for a birthday even and have it make sense. Because of the fact you need that. This is an important time of the year. This is especially for Christians, which this story is a Christian story with definite humanistic overtones.
But if someone's going to go kill themselves and they needed the reminder of all their life and everything like that, wouldn't you think an angel would be able to come down at any point in time? Doesn't have to be things.
I wouldn't, but...
Well, yeah. But what I'm trying to get across is, I understand there's the idea that angels are closely related to the idea of the Christmas concept, but I would imagine an angel should probably stop you from killing yourself at any point in time, whether or not you're doing it on Thanksgiving.
Okay, well, how deep do you want to get on this? Do you want me to go into teacher mode?
We're already off topic.
Okay, because if you were going to go in an archetypal type of analysis of the movie, George Bailey goes through a rebirth. He becomes a new man after his experiences with the angel. The rebirth, the birth of the new George, is also reflective of the birth of Jesus in terms of that regard. So, yeah, there is a archetypal kind of situation there where it's a mirroring situation.
Oh, you just got me to a good point where I'm going to talk about something that happens in Gremlins, which kind of reflects what you're talking about.
Okay.
You just helped me prove my point. Let's do this. All right, so... okay, so we established what you think of as a Christmas film. We understand why you think it's a Christmas film. Me personally, I think the idea that you could substitute any holiday in with most of those films, and you still get the same general film if you do it the right way. That's usually the biggest argument that I hear about people who argue that Gremlins just happens to take place at Christmas, but none of the other plot points in there are really Christmas related. You just kind of happen to have a horror movie taking place at Christmas. Same thing with Die Hard. People say it can be any party that they can go to. But there are points within the movie that explain that there's specific reasons why these are happening around Christmas, and you need the Christmas idea to go there.
Well, like what? What could you not do backflips about to change?
Okay, so let's go with Die Hard first.
Okay.
Of all, before going to Gremlins, so Die Hard. People say, oh, substitute the party for any other party. Well, John McClane lives in New York City, travels to Los Angeles to see his estranged wife. And their kids for the Christmas party in their building. People say you can substitute any party. I disagree. Do you think John McClane's going to travel all the way across the country to go to just a generic party to see his estranged wife? Period. That's it.
He could have been going to his kids' birthday parties.
But would there be a party in the Nakatomi Plaza building for that?
You could come up with something.
You're
right. I'm not going to lie. You're right. It is very convenient that this is happening, and it does make sense to put it during a convenient time. But it doesn't mean that it is absolutely necessary. It just means that this is the easiest way to do things.
But that's the same thing with It's Wonderful Life.
No, I don't think so.
I do, because you can it's convenient that the feeling that you get while watching It's a Wonderful Life gives you that Christmas vibe, but again, had that story taken place at any other time of the year,
do you get a Christmas vibe from Die Hard?
I do,
but do you get that vibe without simply having it as being a nostalgic vibe from the first time you've seen that? That's my phone.
No, that's the lightsaber.
Okay.
Do I get a distinct Christmas? Yeah, I do actually.
What's the Christmas vibe? Air quotes again. That you are getting from Die Hard.
Never give up. Follow your dreams. No, you just
The sun will come out tomorrow.
Yes, it's a heroic action film where you get someone who is put in an impossible situation and overcomes the odds. Isn't that kind of what you want to do? Like it's not your dream coming true, but isn't that, unless you're an action hero at heart, which I am. But isn't that what you kind of want to do? You want to see people succeed in things?
I fail to see how that has anything to do with Christmas, however.
Because Christmas is a time of hope and I don't know,
hope and joy and machine guns.
Yeah, ho ho
and
ho.
crawling around in air conditioning ducts.
Yes. No, I mean I'm not saying that you look at it and say 100% this is a Christmas film because of these moments, but you look at it and go, this is a Christmas film because there's a tone that's set. Because there are plot points within the story that make you go, okay, well, this really has to take place at Christmas because this X, Y, and Z happens. I mean, if I really want to dissect it, going down into each individual plot point or part of it, of course, okay, so John McClane comes there because he wants to spend time with his wife and and kids on Christmas. Big point there. The entire building is empty because everyone went home for Christmas except for the people who were staying for a Christmas party. The FBI or the cops wanted to shut down the building, all the power, which would have taken out the entire city block, and everyone's like, "No, it's Christmas. We can't do that."
But is that a plot point, or is that simply just dialogue?
It's not. I don't say plot point like this happens, this happens, this happens. I say plot point like you kind of need explanation for these things to happen in order for.
But that's not explanation for something happening. That's simply an argument against something happening. So, and you could do it another way. You could say that Nakatomi
Plaza, yes.
Nakatomi Plaza. You could say that it's shut down, except for the fact that they're having a party because they just simply got bought out, or they just simply did such and such. So they're having a party where the rest of the building is gone because it's nighttime. They're there. I mean, you do not need Christmas for that to work.
Well, when you look at something like... Okay, so try and take your example and use it against... Not use it against, but use it in something that you've given me. So we really can't... You use the nostalgia point in Christmas Story to a good point. And I agree that it is a very nostalgia-driven film. It's nostalgia for Christmas specifically. Die Hard isn't a nostalgia film specifically at all. But there are certain things that drive you to, certain things that drive you to the Christmas tone of it. I don't know, it's hard to explain. But anyway, we're off topic. I drove us off topic. I want to go back to Gremlins. Gremlins is the reason. Gremlins is the reason people come to us every year.
It's the reason for the season.
It is the reason for the season. Okay, so Gremlins. So we're at the point in the movie right now where Gizmo was just given to Billy by his dad. A lot of people can argue he could have been given as a birthday present. Correct?
Yep,
that could have been the situation.
Or could have been given as a present, period.
Do you ever just come up and give me dogs or little Mogwai or anything like that?
No, but I'm not an inventor either.
That would be a cool position.
It would be cool. I should be.
You should be. Okay, so Christmas hat, whatever. So the overall thing of Gremlins is you have this feeling, which they specifically tried to recreate. I watched the commentary on this, and Joe Dante was talking about it, is they're really trying to give you the vibe of an old-fashioned holiday film. That's why the backgrounds are actually matte-painted backgrounds. That's why they have the music, the Christmas music that plays in the background. That's why the town of Kingston Falls is made to look so much like something from It's a Wonderful Life. They're really going for that vibe to really set you off, to make almost everything seem off kilter when all of a sudden these little monsters start coming out and attacking the city, attacking this little town. So they're not only are they specifically went for that. They went for that feeling. And had you not known that this is going to be a movie about little monsters until about another 20 minutes from now, would you have gotten the vibe that this is a Christmas film about some?
I'll give you I'll say that's a fair point, that it does kind of look like they were trying for that Bedford Falls kind of
specifically
look.
So what they've
fair
done.
Point on that. I'm a fair man. You know that. So I'm going to give you that one. They do look like that. However, that is not played up enough for it to be something that's trying to enforce this feeling of nostalgia throughout the entire film.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, because there's going to be a point later in the film, and the person who made me 100% guarantee that this film is actually a Christmas film because they were going for a specific vibe and they were trying to make it happen was later in the film when two cops, one the sheriff and the other guy who played Mike in Breaking Bad.
Mike from Breaking Bad. Before he went bad.
When they're driving down the city because they heard about all the damage that the little gremlins are creating, there's a point where they stop in front of Mrs. Deagle's house, who had just been killed by the gremlins. And they're kind of like staring.
That's a point I want to bring up too. But go ahead. You finish your point.
I understand what you're going to talk about here, but they're standing out there like, oh my gosh, this is Mrs. Deagle. And a Santa Claus comes right out of a house, and he's got gremlins all over his body. He's screaming, he's yelling, and he falls through the fence.
That's pretty damn funny, by the way.
It is funny. And they look at him.
Morbid sort of way.
They look at him, and they're like, "What's that?" And they say, "Oh, what's such and such. He plays Santa every year. What the hell are those on him? I don't know." And then they're like, the gremlins like staring at him and attacking. They're just kind of they're in shock. They're looking at it like, what? And then eventually they drive off. And they see more damage and everything like that. And Mike looks around, and this is the line that got me on this film. He looks around and he says, "What the hell is happening around here? It's supposed to be Christmas." What I understand you can just say, "Oh, it's Christmas time," but there's a reason behind him freaking out and saying that, because they were in the mindset, they're in the absolute mode that everything around them is this idyllic Christmas setting, and it had been up until this point. It's offsetting and upsetting that these monsters are now attacking and ruining their idealistic Christmas.
But here's the thing, then. Okay, I agree with you. It is off-putting for them. But for the audience, for the viewer, for those who are going, what does this have to do with Christmas other than this is not the Christmas you want? It's like it's almost an anti-Christmas film in that regard. And now if you want to go anti-Christmas films are Christmas films, okay, I guess you win. But if you are simply saying this is a Christmas film for its own sake, then no, it's the opposite of that.
Well, okay, so
I mean, they kill the old lady. Now, granted, she deserved it because she was mean to the dog. She deserved it, but it's still murder. There's these critters going around murdering people. It's like you could say, what was it? There was that 80s movie with Santa Claus killing people, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes.
Okay, it's ostensibly, air quotes again, a Christmas movie, but there's nothing Christmassy about it other than they're taking advantage of the fact that people expect Santa Claus to be a certain way. They expect certain things to happen at Christmas, and they turn it around and twist it on its ear. I mean, it's like calling The Shining a Christmas movie because it happens in winter.
Okay, so I get where you're coming from with that, but let's take a look at the film a little bit further down the line. Well, actually, we'll go back and then go forward. So Billy, we're seeing right now,
right.
He's talking to Corey Feldman.
One of the Coreys.
Yeah, Corey Feldman here. And they're surrounded by pencils and pens and colors. He's an artist. He's got comic books everywhere. He's like you. He's like me if I didn't grow up.
So he's like you.
So he's like me.
Yeah. You're the worst adult ever.
I am the worst adult ever. But okay, so look at this. So he is a child throughout the entire first half of the film. How old do you think he is? 25, maybe?
He's old enough he has an adult job.
He's old enough that he works at a bank. He's got an adult job. But he still has this emotional attachment to all of these old nostalgic comic books. He's got Conan the Barbarian in front of him right now.
And he hangs out with a 12-year-old boy, which is kind of pervy.
It is kind of super weird. So he's given this responsibility, which he neglects, and of course wreaks havoc on everything. Let's look back at the example you gave me of George Bailey going into a point where he has a rebirth, essentially, to a point where he is a new George Bailey at the end of the film. At the end of this film here, we see Billy go from this irresponsible, childlike adult, to a point where he has to grow up and become, I don't want to say an action hero, but he has to essentially save the town. He gets the girl. He finally gets to the point where he actually has the balls to ask the girl out. He goes out with her. He becomes responsible by the end of the film. He comes out on the other end a brand new person. We know that this sticks because in the new movie after this...
Well, you can't take the new movie and bring it into this movie. We're going to go new criticism here.
But, okay, well then, what I'm going to say is that reaffirms that at the end of this film, though, we have a new character.
Okay, but he still has the object of his responsibility taken away from him because he can't handle it. So that kind of defeats the purpose. That the old Chinese guy comes back in, Mr. What? I don't know, whatever his name was.
Mr. Wu, I think.
Mr. Wu. Oh, that's from Deadwood, I think. Mr. Wu.
I don't know.
But anyways,
it might not be his name. I might have.
Okay, this is kind of racist right now. We're gonna stop that. But anyways, he comes in and tells him, "You can't handle this. You can't handle the gremlin. You can't handle the mogwai,"
right.
And takes it away. So what is accomplished that shows he's growing up? The thing that was supposed to have made him grow up is taken away from him.
But Gizmo was essentially he was a plot point kind of to him. He was a catalyst to him growing up. The catalyst doesn't need to stay around. The catalyst just needs to ignite the change, and it did. And of course, we see that he's a different person on the other side. So, if anything, going back to your example of using the idea of a rebirth as a not that I'm saying Billy is Jesus, but as a
Wouldn't it be cool if Jesus had a Mogwai though? That would be cool.
That would be pretty cool, actually. Oh man, I'm just thinking of all the possibilities of that. But no, I mean, going back to your example of what if we wanted to really, really dig deep into that, we have the same sort of change within a character in this film. So if you're going to utilize that example for what I would honestly say is the epitome of Christmas films, which I will agree, it is the epitome of Christmas films, we have that same example in Gremlins.
I don't see that quite as much. And again,
I think we don't see it quite as much because it's tonally a different film.
Okay, it is totally a different film. I agree with you on that. Okay, this might even weaken my other point on that a little bit. Is the idea of the rebirth is very much simply a part of the hero's journey in general, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, you'll see that in stories in any month of the year, any time of the year, pre-Christ, post-Christ, whatever. You'll see that all the time. So, I guess that kind of weakens my previous point about that. But I do not see that as being something that makes this a Christmas film.
I will say that you're right. It's probably not. It's not a definitive thing that would establish this as a Christmas film. But if it's an argument that can be utilized in something else to establish that as a Christmas film, we can utilize it here. But again, it weakens your point on the other one. If you're going to accept it here, you have to accept.
Agreed. But that wasn't my main thrust for that. Anyway,
of course. But no, I mean, okay. So again, looking at it back to those 4 plot points that I brought up, the big one that I really want to talk about here is. It's going to be the social conventions for it. When does this movie play normally?
Well, it came out in July.
Well, it did, which is kind of weird.
I was there when it came out.
Yeah, it did.
You weren't alive, but I was there.
Yeah. Okay, so other than the fact that when it really came out, when is that film normally played?
I've seen it, honestly. Now,
Granted,
I see it more during this time of year.
Right.
I agree with you. That is true. You will see it more often than not during this time of year.
What I'm trying to get at is this is the point where you see all of these things come out because people associate this film with the holiday. Whether or not you want to say that they look at it and go, Christmas film, obviously, but they associate it with the holiday, so there's a social convention that this film is associated with Christmas.
What you're going through right now is the bandwagoning argument. You're saying that simply because a good chunk of people agree with you on this, it must be right, and that's not necessarily true.
You're right. That doesn't mean it's necessarily true, but from a social so I'm choosing the word social convention and using it over
and I'm using bandwagon for the exact same thing.
Right, but the reason I'm saying that is. There is a majority of people out there.
Prove it's a majority.
I would say it's a majority because this is I
don't know. It might be, but I don't know. But you're pulling something out of your butt right now.
But again, going back to the point where you see all of these products, you see the film being played 1,000 times. It's only played around this time. If it wasn't a majority of people who are forcing this thing to happen at this certain time, you would see that exact same amount of merchandise, that exact same stuff.
When I was a kid, back before CDs, DVDs, VHS, or anything like that, or Netflix or anything, you could only watch The Wizard of Oz one time a year. And it happened, if I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure it was Easter time, but I might be wrong. It might have been Thanksgiving time. It was around a holiday. Okay? That was if you missed The Wizard of Oz that night, you did not get an opportunity to see it again for a year.
Okay.
So it was on let's say it was Easter Eve. Okay. Does that make it automatically an Easter movie? Because people would say, when I think of Easter, I think of The Wizard of Oz because that's when it shows up.
But we live in a day and age where we have access to this stuff anytime we want. But it's still being pushed to us.
But I'm asking you, though, would you say The Wizard of Oz is an... And someone's going to call me up and say, no, it was Thanksgiving. Yeah. I don't remember. It was a long time. I'm old. But regardless of what things are now, would you say that would constitute The Wizard of Oz being that holiday's movie?
I wouldn't.
Okay, then.
But, again, that was a plot, or your argument for something that happened a long time ago. We live in a day and age where we have free access to this stuff anytime we want. If I wanted to watch this, at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I probably have, right now, I can definitely do that. If I wanted to watch It's a Wonderful Life, in the middle of May. I could do that. We have access to these things to watch them at any point in time. No one is forcing these on us at any specific time. But there are people who choose to want to watch this at this Christmas time to a point where television stations, whatever outlets that exist out there, they go, okay, this is the time that people want to watch it. We're going to put it out there at this point.
Okay, but first of all, the very fact that you said you wouldn't consider The Wizard of Oz a holiday movie, it invalidates the rest of that because it has nothing to do with if we have access to it now. It has to do with whether or not seeing it around that time makes it a movie. And you just said no, so that doesn't matter. Also, the second part is that... Well, you go ahead because I forgot my second part.
Okay, but there's nothing in the film that would associate that with any specific holiday.
You're right.
But there are stuff in this film that would associate it with Christmas. There are pieces
But they're superficial. It's setting. It's not thematic.
That's not true. We already established at the beginning that they're going for the theme of a nostalgic Christmas.
That's the setting.
That's a nostalgic Christmas.
The setting is a nostalgic Christmas. I concede that. That is not the theme.
The theme is growing up.
Growing up isn't a Christmas theme.
It doesn't have to. I mean, okay, so...
You're right, it doesn't have... You're absolutely right. It does not have to be.
Okay, so if we say that the idea of him growing up from a childish adult to an adultish adult. Adultish adult.
He's got one up on you.
Yeah, so far he's leaps and bounds ahead of me. If we establish that is would you say that is the theme of the film?
Honestly, I have not thought that far in advance. Let me think about that while you keep talking.
I think that is the theme of the film, to be honest with you.
I thought the theme was don't feed animals after midnight. But
don't feed strange animals after midnight.
That and all of our dogs.
That's all. Luke's passed out on the couch, Dexter's chilling, and Baby Leia's probably plotting her death. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just say that is the theme of the film. It is a theme of an individual that we're... Okay,
now look right here. We're watching this part. They're actually showing Invasion of the Body Snatchers on TV while he's eating at midnight. Uh-huh. Okay, so I honestly think the plot might simply be careful of strange things. Because why else would you throw Invasion of the Body Snatchers in there, other than the fact they both have cocoons?
True. No, I think there might be multiple themes in this film, to be honest.
Well, most films do have multiple themes.
Right, right. So there's multiple themes in this one. So I would say that a theme would be him growing up. A theme would be beware of strange things. A theme would be responsibility, if we consider that something.
A theme would be don't go down the chimney at night. Spoiler.
So I mean, there's multiple themes throughout this, and I think one of the themes would be, I there's only so many times I can say it, like 1,000 times. I think that this should be a Christmas film because it sets this tone, it sets this vibe, it sets this emotion. I don't know. It's just...
I kind of remember what I was going to say before here, and I think I said it earlier too. I don't blame you for thinking it's a Christmas film because as you were growing up, this was something you saw at Christmas time, and it does evoke nostalgia for you. For you, watching this right now probably evokes some kind of form of nostalgia of watching it in your bedroom back on Drake Street, or watching it in the living room down on Drake Street, or watching it in our house that we have now. And I can understand you feeling that form of nostalgia, but that's nostalgia after the fact. It's not nostalgia that is trying to be evoked during the creation of the movie. And that's what A Christmas Story does. It is purposely evoking nostalgia from an earlier time. You might like the movie because, one, it's just a friggin' funny movie, and the fact that it makes you think back to an earlier time, but the earlier time it makes you think back to are post-movie times. And that's the same thing with this. You might get a feeling of nostalgia watching Stripe evilly look at chicken wings or whatever he's trying to eat right now, a sandwich. Okay, but that's that's post-movie, not pre-movie nostalgia. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't even necessarily think that what defines a Christmas film necessarily has to be the idea of nostalgia. It has to be the idea of what it invokes at the time through the current actions of the protagonist, of the the events that are going around. It doesn't necessarily have to be nostalgia. Do you think Elf really is something that's a nostalgia-driven film?
It's not a nostalgia-driven. I agree. It's not.
It's not. But that's not. So what I'm saying is that's not something that defines what a Christmas film
But
is.
it has a Christmas theme, though. And the idea is let your Christmas freak flag fly, basically. That's what James Caan's character gets. That's what Zoe Deschanel's character gets. Let your freak flag, Christmas flag fly.
I disagree with that, because that's not what James Caan's story arc is. James Caan's story arc is accepting responsibility for his kid, who just happens to think he's an elf.
But it's also... Well, in his case, I agree. Oh, you're right. It's not so much your freak flag in his case. It's taking responsibility for your family, being there for your family. Mm-hmm. Now, for Zoe... Am I pronouncing it right?
Zoe Deschanel.
Is it Zoe or Zoe?
Zoe.
Zoe, okay. It looks like Zoe, though.
It does look like Zoe.
Okay. I know a friend who's Zoe, and that's spelled different. But anyway.
I know no one named Zoe, so...
I don't know anybody named Zoe, but I don't know anyone named Zoe who spells it Zoe.
Okay.
Anyways, I digress. Going back to what I was saying is, for her it was, let your Christmas spirit shine. Because you have this man-child who... essentially has no internal editor, and he's always in the Christmas spirit. And his faith in the Christmas spirit touches the girl he wants to boink and his dad figure that he wants to cuddle, which is equally weird.
I don't think that the message to her specifically was let your Christmas freak flag fly. It's don't be such a Debbie Downer.
Same difference.
Well, that could be done with anything, though. That doesn't have to be a Christmas.
No, in this case, I think they were talking about for the Christmas story, because she's sitting there singing Christmas carols. Well, not
around
Christmas
time.
I'm sorry. I love the song, but
Baby It's Cold Outside.
It's not a Christmas
not
song.
A Christmas song.
it's one it's only become a Christmas song since Elf. But anytime that it evokes Rohypnol in the middle of the song,
right.
It's not a Christmas song. But she's sitting there singing songs. She's waiting for that Christmas spirit to hit her, and also take that with the idea that the sleigh won't run unless there's enough Christmas spirit, and the Christmas spirit is evoked by her singing the song. So the theme really is about the Christmas feeling, the Christmas spirit coming through. Otherwise, Santa's screwed and he has to take a taxi.
Okay. I don't think necessarily her story arc still is... I think the overall goal of Santa Claus is that there should be a Christmas vibe to it, Christmas feel to it, but I don't think that her individual character story arc is feel the Christmas vibe. It's let the crappy vibe go, essentially. That's what it just happens to be. Christmas is one of the most recognizable and emotion-driven seasons where you can do songs.
I don't see her having a crappy vibe. I don't see her as being depressed in any way. She is simply put her eyes down, looking at the ground, and is going through life numb. That's not necessarily depression. That's not necessarily a crappy feeling. In other words, what Buddy is doing for her is trying to get her to stop, look up, and look at the beauty of the Christmas season. He specifically is saying that. I think hers isn't look at the beauty of the Christmas. If she had a crazy story like Phoebe Cates does, where her parents dad died during Christmas, and that's why she stupidest. I don't dislike this movie, but that is the stupidest part of
every single person who made this film also thinks it's the stupidest part of the film.
Okay. In fact, I love the fact in the second movie they make fun of it.
Right. Had Zoe Deschanel's character had a story similar to that, then the idea that the Christmas spirit is what's bringing her up and she's accepted it and accepted the Christmas spirit into her, then I would agree with the fact that Christmas was the vital point that made her stop being gloom and started being perk. However,
she's never stopped ever since.
Nope.
Anything she's ever been in,
that movie changed her life.
It did. Before that, she was just like a crappy older sister and almost famous.
That's a good film. That was also a Christmas time film.
Oh, shit.
It started off at Christmas time, and it only went more Christmassy from there.
You are so full of crap.
That was the point where, who was it? It was Jason, what's his name?
Jason Lee.
Jason Lee jumped off the.
That wasn't him.
Wasn't it him?
No,
No,
that
that was
was-
the other guy. It was
That was Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan. Yeah,
Before he was swinging blue pipe.
he was trying to fly because he was
He's that golden god.
shiny blue god.
And actually, he was a
shiny
blue god. That's what he should have been.
been.
Had he been a blue god, he would have made it and wouldn't have fallen in the pool.
That's true. That's true.
But he had too much hair, too.
Yeah, that was a good Christmas.
But we digress.
Was there a Christmas film in Christmas scene in Watchmen?
What's that?
Was there a Christmas scene in Watchmen? I want to say
There's a
there was.
snowy scene. I don't know if it was
Snow is
Christmas.
associated with Christmas, so obviously Watchmen.
So the day after
Watch-
is a Christmas movie?
Watchmen is a Christmas film.
Day
everybody.
After is the best Christmas movie ever.
Yeah. Day after tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Don't worry. Everyone all 2 people who are listening caught that. So. Okay, so going back to the Gremlins thing, I'm sticking with that with the social convention that it is indeed labeled as a Christmas film. Let's look at the.
You actually have notes on your friggin' phone.
Let's look at the idealist method. The idealist
You
method
have
is what we talked
notes
about.
on your friggin' phone.
Yeah, so I can-
You are a friggin' cheater.
How do you-
I have no notes.
Yeah. I warned you ahead of time, except for today. I didn't tell you. That
You
we're
said
recording.
today, hey, let's do a podcast.
That's true.
Okay, let me have a couple of shots of bourbon beforehand. Yeah, this is fair.
Tell you what.
This is like you are Finn and I'm Rilo Ken after I've been shot by the bowcaster.
Okay, let me go ahead. I'll do a shot right now. That way.
Okay,
You
Patrick-
go ahead and entertain everybody for a second.
Patrick is doing a shot right now, so expect his voice to be a lot higher here in a minute.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But anyways, I also want to make this clear. I don't dislike the movie Gremlins. I do like the movie Gremlins. I think it's enjoyable. I think they're cute. They're, and it's one of the few times you actually get to see little critters like that. It's one of the last times you get to see little critters like that are actual practical effects. And some people might not like it. I think it gives the feeling of the film, gives it a little bit more of a homespun, more of a
nostalgic vibe?
not a Christmas nostalgic vibe, though. Just a nostalgic vibe. There is a difference. Don't you want to paint? You want to paint everything in with this big wide ass brush, and it's it requires a finesse that you are not seemingly capable of recognizing.
Maybe I'm just messing with you on that one.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, so.
Oh, here comes that really cool Christmas moment where the biology teacher gets killed. Putting it right up there with Silent Night, Deadly Night, and possibly the new movie, The Krampus. Speaking of which...
I heard that's actually a pretty good Christmas film, though.
It might be. Even though it's a dark film, if it has an actually good Christmas theme. Now, I don't know if it does or not, but if it does, it could be. It's not necessarily one I would say is a feel-good movie of the season, but if the whole idea is, you got to have the Christmas spirit. You got to have the feeling of I don't know the word I'm thinking of here is the humanistic, caring, not just bitching about the fact you didn't get the presents you wanted. Then okay, I can see that as a Christmas themed story. Doesn't mean it's gonna be a great Christmas movie. It could still be a good movie and not be a great Christmas movie, but it could be.
So, if we look at it that way, do you think that Billy not taking the responsibility to take care of the new pet right, and maybe the dad's idea of not taking the responsibility of owning or giving this pet to someone who he cares about, do you think that kind of falls into the idea of, would you say that falls into the idea of teaching a lesson to people?
What did Billy do wrong? They ate after midnight, but he was tricked. Okay. We've been tricked by Bebalea. Does that make us bad parents because of that? Bebalea tricks us all the friggin'
really
time.
She's really smart, though.
So were they.
They're evil, though.
So is she.
Yeah.
She's good evil, but she's evil.
Well, okay, so the idea that first off, he was irresponsible by the fact that he allowed Gizmo to get wet in the first place. I understand it was an accident.
It was an accident.
I understand it was an accident. But what was his first reaction to these things popping out of Gizmo? His first reaction to them was, I'm going to go tell my dad. Right? That's the first thing he did. He went and told his dad. How old is Billy? He's 25, 26 years old. The first thing you do is run to your dad.
He's still Peter Pan syndrome right here. He's still living at home. Mm-hmm. He's 21. We kicked you out about that time.
About 21.
Well, you were in college and we kicked you out. You keep coming back like a bad boomerang, but
okay, well, so what I'm trying to get at is Billy doesn't take the responsibility the way he's supposed to be doing. You think if he made an accident, the first reaction is, I'm going to take care of this myself. I understand that you can't do everything by yourself. You're going to do it, help, especially from someone you care about and you trust, like your father. But that's, looking at it that way, he didn't take the responsibility into his own hands the way he probably should have.
I disagree. There was too much accident in this, and it's kind of, again, pardon me for going into English teacher mode. It's kind of like it's hard to describe Romeo and Juliet as a tragedy that's based on the tragic flaw of one of the two characters, because so much that happens is beyond their control. You know, in Romeo and Juliet, there's so much that happens that it's not because Romeo's impulsive, it's not because Juliet's immature, it's because shit happens. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the same thing here. A lot of shit happens that isn't Billy's fault, it just happens. Mm-hmm. He's got the little dorky Corey, which I don't remember which Corey it is, but he got one of the Corys. Yeah, the one that's still alive?
Yeah, the one that's still alive.
The one that doesn't want you to kill fish? Is that him?
Is that what he wants to do?
No, he doesn't want to kill. He's like Mr. Super Vegan.
I don't know. That's the first time I heard about it.
Yeah, I saw him on The Surreal Life. But anyways,
that was like almost 10 years ago.
This movie was 30 years ago.
I know. I'm just pointing out the fact that...
Well, thank you for pointing out I'm old. I appreciate that. But it's beyond Billy's control. It really is. Mm-hmm. Shit just happened that is beyond his control.
Okay. No, I understand that things are beyond his control, but to a certain degree, he probably should have been able to manage what he could out of it. I understand he goes to work. You have to go to work. That's your mm-hmm. thing to do. But he leaves these cocoons, in the middle of his floor, with his mom there, not knowing what's going on with it. The second that he hears the science teacher call him and say it hatched, don't you think his first reaction would be, I should probably call my mom to make sure that those things didn't hatch there too?
She was too busy dancing with Donna Summer and works hard for the money, because she was in that.
Oh yeah.
She can dance. She can actually dance. Mm. But we digress.
Yes. Anyway, he doesn't take the response.
I think. Well, look at him. He's running right now. He's running out of the building. He's going to go get his mom. He's as responsible as you would expect anybody to be in this situation who's living in their basement with their parents.
Given that his situation in life, then yeah, I would say he's probably being as responsible as he can be. But then again, he's 20-some years old. He should be not stupid about this whole thing, but he is.
And again, here's another great scene. Mom is being attacked by the gremlins, so she's holding about 8-inch
probably
carving knife. That's always a symbol of Christmas spirit. When you have to go out and defend yourself with a 8-inch blade.
Yeah, it's perseverance. She's making sure that she's
Perseverance is not a Christmas theme.
Yes, it is. Anything that makes someone who tries to either better themselves or tries to strive for something falls into the Christmas category.
You're basically telling every ABC after-school special ever. Just keep going, guys.
Yes. If it had a Christmas setting for it, that would count as a Christmas film or a Christmas special.
Oh, he's eating a gingerbread man now. Yeah, they are so... Actually, they kind of look like the Krampus now I think about it. They had horns.
Maybe that's intentional.
They didn't even know who the hell the Krampus was at this point.
Probably not.
But...
think of this as this
is so perverse right here. This part, she throws the one into the blender and it spurts green slime all over the walls. Then, we haven't gotten to this point in the movie yet, but she throws the one in the microwave till it explodes.
Think of them as precursors to the Elf on the Shelf. To the modern day Elf on the Shelf.
I am so thankful I know absolutely nothing about the Elf on the Shelf.
The Elf on the Shelf is there to watch you to make sure you're doing good during the Christmas season.
The Elf on the Shelf works for the NSA then.
Yeah, well, the Elf on the Shelf is creepy and evil and bad, and it does bad things, I think. I don't know. But think of these as the precursor to the Elf on the Shelf. What are they there for? They're there to make sure you do the right thing, which would be taking care of them properly. When you don't take care of them properly, bad things happen to you.
but there's no purpose other than taking care of them. Okay, here's the part where she blows them up in the microwave. I mean, just throw a little bit more Walking Dead blood. This is disgusting.
It's awesome.
It's awesome for you because you're older. It's awesome.
Is it awesome to you?
It's awesome for me too because I'm older and twisted. But a Christmas movie should be something you show a 5-year-old and they're not going to have nightmares and need therapy for the next 5 years.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. The Christmas film is not being determined by the fact that you can show it to these children, or not all Christmas films should be able to fall into that category of being able to be shown to kids.
Give me one that you and I would both agree is a Christmas film that should not be shown to children.
You know what? I don't know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they all have to be able to be shown to kids.
Tell me one that doesn't. That shouldn't be.
Krampus.
The Krampus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you might be right. Might be, because I haven't seen the movie.
Okay.
Might be. I will concede that.
Okay. So what I'm essentially establishing is that the fact that you can't necessarily show it to a child does not automatically exclude it from falling in the list of Christmas films.
Fair point.
So this falls into that category of films that obviously you can't show to a child, and it could still, depending on, I guess, what you would say is a Christmas film, it could still fall into that category.
Fair point.
Okay. Now, we've talked about the social convention. Go back to the idyllic convention for it. I have established at the very beginning of the movie, they are setting the tone of an idealist Christmas film. Mm-hmm. Right?
You did establish that. I don't say, but I'm also saying the caveat is that the setting does not mean it's a Christmas film.
Okay. But it goes beyond the physical setting for it. It goes for the emotional set pieces for it too.
But when you use set pieces, you are basically saying setting, and because the setting itself is not enough to make it a Christmas movie.
Okay, but what about all the individual pieces of the film that happen at Christmas that could only happen at Christmas? We've already established that things can happen at different times, just if you work it. But in this film, look at the pieces that could only happen at Christmas during this. We'll go with he gets the Christmas. Sorry, he gets the Christmas present. That is a Christmas piece to it. Obviously, Mrs. Deagle, who is the villain other than the Gremlins, she is set up as the stereotypical...
She's Scrooge.
She's set up as the stereotypical character for it. So, again, they're setting it up that way. The fact, if she was just a rude person any other time of the year, yeah, we'd still hate her, but it's Christmas.
I agree. She's archetypically Scrooge.
Right.
She's archetypically Scrooge.
So she is a point that if that existed any other time, you would just look at her and be like, oh, she's a bitch. But here we look at her and go, oh no, she is Scrooge, which is a character from a very typical Christmas film. In the
Christmas film, the archetype of Scrooge is his character arc. He goes from being the complete bastard to being the most generous human being on the face of the planet. And my phone again. The most decent, most humane, most humanistic person in the town after it's done. She simply dies. Mm-hmm. So that's where they fail in that character arc.
I don't think you need a character arc for that, though. You have an archetype. You don't need a change within that archetype.
But the archetype is the character arc in this case.
She doesn't have a character arc. You don't need a character arc to create a character, though. She's not a main character. She's not the villain. She is a villain.
It prevents her from being completely the Scrooge archetype.
But had they not killed her, she could have potentially turned into a remorseful person.
But she didn't. That's the point.
No, it's not the point. What it is the fact that you have a character who, of course, is not a main character. She is a secondary character in this film. She is
tertiary.
She is a tertiary character. You're right. I'd say tertiary character. She is a tertiary character in this film who goes from being the Scrooge character to continuing the Scrooge arc to the point where she starts to realize her mistake, as in like, I am a bad person, I need to change. She got to the point where she got scared into essentially, I'm sorry. Her
character arc goes from I'm an evil person to holy shit, I'm going to die.
Right.
That's it.
Had Scrooge died prior or post seeing the spirits, same story arc.
But he didn't. That's the point.
But he is a main character. She was just a tertiary character.
I don't see that. I don't see it. Sorry, man.
Okay, so anyway, continuing what we were talking about there. So we have that character in there. We have Mike, who exclaims it's supposed to be Christmas. Him and the other cop are in this idyllic mode where this is the Christmas setting for it. Had this happened during Thanksgiving, do you think he'd drive around going, it's Thanksgiving, this isn't supposed to be happening?
Thanksgiving doesn't have a mood other than just family.
Right, but that means that there was a mood established within this film.
Well, yeah.
A Christmas film. Christmas mood.
No, the mood wasn't. No, the mood wasn't established in this film. The mood, the film took advantage of the mood that is assumed at Christmas time.
If it
It
was
took a shortcut.
if it was something that happened, like we never really got the Christmas feel up until that point, and he just brought it up there, you're like, okay, that's an explanation for why he's shocked. But from start to finish of this film, we are in a Christmas world.
Well, yeah, because it's all one night.
But I'm not just talking about the fact that it's a time from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. I'm talking about the fact that opens up on the painting, idyllic painting background, Christmas mood, horror mood, and then jumps to the very end. The vision, the last scene we see is the old man taking Gizmo away, and again we go back to a painted backdrop. Again, I know you're going to say, "Oh, but that's just the setting," but physically it's the setting. But we're back to the point they established at the beginning of the film, which is a Christmas theme and mood.
Mood. I will agree with mood.
But isn't that what would define a Christmas film?
Not
Because isn't that what?
Okay,
But isn't that what you established already with It's a Wonderful Life?
No, I did not establish that with that. I established the fact that with that it has a theme that is also very Christmassy. Mood and theme are not the same thing.
Looking back at it, It's a Wonderful Life again. Christmas bookends, correct? Beginning and end, Christmas bookends.
Sure.
Same thing with Gremlins. Just using that as
No, it's not bookends. It's the whole thing is Christmas.
Okay, well,
Start to finish.
Start to finish is Christmas. Okay, well, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt by taking it out and replacing the Christmas mood with a horror mood. But you just established that it's a Christmas
I
throughout.
never got the horror mood from Gremlins. Never.
Well, it's not a not frightening film.
Yeah, it is.
Well, because we're adults and
I was only like 19, 20 when it came out. I was not scared then.
1983.
Okay, I was 19.
So going back. Okay, so It's a Wonderful Life has those bookends for it. There's a point throughout the middle where it's just not a generic story, but it's a story that could take place at any point in time. This one, Christmas throughout. The events within the story revolve around something that happens at Christmas.
I told you before you can't bring the second Gremlins into this movie to explain anything, and I still stand by that.
Okay.
But I will say this. The second Gremlins movie is essentially the same story told again, and it does not have a Christmas anything. Anything. But it is the same story told again. That shows you right there that Christmas is not even remotely part of the story.
I'm going to disagree with you on the fact that it's a retelling of the first film, because going with what we're talking about with the theme throughout it of Billy growing to a responsible adult, that is not a prevalent theme at all throughout the second one. Because,
sure it is.
No, it's not. Because
sure it is.
No, it's not, because he's already established as in an adult life, establishing an adult life.
But he's in a dead job. He doesn't like.
No, he likes his job. That's why he creates the Kingston Falls design, which he ends up selling to Clamp at the end of the film. So he's not in a job he hates. He's just in a repetitive job, which we can all associate ourselves with as adults.
But that has nothing to do with Christmas.
because it's the second movie. It doesn't. But what I'm saying is,
Yeah, it's a second movie with the same ideas.
it's not because in the first movie it's him being irresponsible.
He's not irresponsible.
Fine, it's him in the first one being childish. Yeah, childish throughout the film. The second one is not him being childish. It's him actually actively trying to fix something that happened. Again, it was out of his control, just like in the first one, but it was out of his control in a way that he wasn't around for it. He happens to be in a situation that's reminiscent of the actions and responsibilities that he ended up having to undertake in the first film.
I think we're repeating ourselves at this
A
point.
little bit, but that's okay. You see the gremlin was doing that? There's this shot in reverse because the smoke was going back into the lights.
Well, I think what it comes down to is I haven't changed my opinion. And I don't think you've changed yours either.
Looks like we're going to have to argue this again next year.
I'm okay with that.
But anyway, there are good points pro and con for it being a Christmas film. Same thing with Die Hard, though, to be honest with you.
But I'm not going to say don't watch the movie. It is a good movie. It's fun. It's an entertaining movie.
If we watch this,
And you get to see Mike with hair.
if we watch this in May, would you sit around and be like, why are we watching this?
At this point, yeah, because we've seen it like 3 times this year.
That's true. Hypothetically, we haven't seen it 3 times this year already. Actually, what's that, 24th? I've seen it 24 times this year already.
You're a sad individual. No, I would not have a problem with watching it. Had I not watched it 4 times already this year,
But would you
I would not have a problem.
Would you find it out of place?
No, I wouldn't.
That's weird that you don't find it out of place.
I would find Elf out of place. I would find It's a Wonderful Life out of place. I would not find this movie out of place. I would not find Die Hard out of place. I would not find.
Well, you watch Die Hard any time of the year.
Exactly.
I find Die Hard to be something that is. It is a Christmas
Die
film.
Hard is a universally wonderful film.
It is a universally wonderful film. I find it to be a Christmas film because the pieces in it point to Christmas for me. However, they don't
Because you watched it at Christmas time growing up.
No, that's not the reasons why I do it. In fact, I rarely remember times around Christmas time where we'd say, "It's Die Hard, let's watch it." I remember watching it all the time. So I mean, just looking at it that way, though, there are other points to Die Hard which can associate it with other parts of the year. Not even associate it; it just makes it okay for other parts of the year, and that's okay. I think that's why people don't always associate it with Christmas. However, there are enough pieces in that when you look at it and go, okay, this makes me think of Christmas, this makes me think of Christmas, I'm going to associate it with Christmas. It's a Christmas film. I get that too. Gremlins, I personally like the film enough that I can watch it any time of the year. But I think there is so much Christmas in it. Whether or not it's, items, people talking about it, I get the Christmas vibe out of it, the Christmas theme out of it. You might not do it, but that's fine. I would find it out of place to watch it any other time of the year. That's not going to stop me from watching it any other time of the year. But they're saying Christmas carols. That's
just a sight gag.
But there's a lot of sight gags that revolve on Christmas.
Oh, yeah, there are. But sight gags do not make a theme.
Yes, it does. When it's repeated over and over again, yes, it does.
That's just called beating you over the head with something.
Okay, so let's go with something. I'm going to take it to an extreme here. Okay, so let's go with Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
I'm
intrigued.
I'm going with Blazing Saddles here because what are a lot of the jokes in Blazing Saddles revolved around? Racism. So let's take that.
Is there a racist holiday that I don't know?
I'm not using it as a holiday, but I'm using the idea of taking an extreme and using it as a tone of the film, or not tone, a theme.
But racism was the tone of the film, besides the comedy.
Had there only, let's hypothetically say, just like Gremlins, let's say Gremlins only had one slight gag of Christmas theme in it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that Blazing Saddles had only one gag of racism in it.
Then it wouldn't be about racism. It just simply had a sight gag about racism in it.
Okay, but there was multiple gags about it, which got to the point where you realize. But listen to what I'm saying.
I'm confused now.
It goes over and over again. You have all the scenes of and any of the racist jokes that happen in there, but we understand it's a satire against.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, but had a joke only happened once, and then the movie continued with other kinds of jokes, would you have looked at that film and said, "That's"? But same idea of people not necessarily being okay with a new sheriff in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have looked at that and said, "That's the movie where the common joke is racism"?
No, I wouldn't.
Would you look at that and say that? Would you say that one joke was out of place?
Not in that kind of movie if all the other humor was of the same caliber.
So what if during that film they just kept saying the N-word during the things, but the jokes didn't revolve around that?
Then we would never have seen the movie because it wouldn't have made any sense.
Okay.
It'd just be a piece of crap.
Okay. So we needed these repeated jokes. We needed these things to establish a certain feel, a certain vibe, which is the fact that the movie revolves around the idea that racism is bad, but they're taking it to an extreme sense where we can understand that.
I fail to see how this has anything to do with Gremlins.
Because what I'm saying is the idea that them doing the same repeated jokes over and over again, not repeated jokes, but repeated theme of Christmas-themed jokes over and over again is what establishes it, what helps establish, not the only thing, it helps establish it as a Christmas theme or vibe. But does that make...
I understand what you're saying. And now you've said it again, I kind of get what you're trying to say.
I'm not saying that you have to look at it and be like, this is 100% a Christmas film. But
I get what your point.
What I'm saying
I do get what your point is.
Does that make this the fact that these things are repeated over and over again? These things are sets the tone, sets the vibe, sets the theme, whatever you want to say. We've said those things 1,000 times at this point during this. That helps establish this, and that is what we can take away from it. Again, you don't have to agree that this is a Christmas film.
I get your point. I do get your point, and I understand your point. And I say there is a smidge of logic behind it. But we are getting repetitive now. So if we want people to come back again next year, we need to probably wrap this up here pretty quick.
That's true. So anyway, we established that I agree with... I think of one thing, you think of another thing, that's perfectly fine. However, I'm going to stick to my guns, you're going to stick to your guns. I don't know if this is going to change people's minds.
But do we both agree that Fairy Tale of New York is one of the best Christmas songs ever?
I agree with that.
Fairy Tale of New York, if you have not heard it, you need to listen to that song, but don't listen to it in front of little children.
Right. Or watch Gremlins in front of little children.
Or watch Gremlins in front of little
children. Or Die Hard. No, don't watch Die Hard in front
of Die Hard, you need to watch in front of everybody because that's just how you survive in life.
Right. Everyone should watch that film at least 3 times a year.
Fair enough. We agree on some things. It's a Christmas miracle.
The second one you can skip. Third one, watch the third one, and nothing else happens after that.
The second one you can watch.